This is a very unique guy, man. So you guys have probably, you've been to events. You guys know how it goes. Most men kind of network like they're walking around handing out business cards or, trying to apply for a job, spitting game like it's a resume, dry handshakes and forced smiles. But, there's also other guys that, know how to command a presence, lead the room, and, make conversations very rich. So, that's what, that's the energy that JaMarr is bringing. So, this is a guy, if you've seen him on Instagram, he's got a large presence. He's done a lot of events. He has a background in the Navy. So, he's been on stages with 22,000 people. He's also into comedy. So he's done, stand-up and things like that. So, the life that he's lived is very, very, it's very rich, and very deep. So he's coached some guys in dating. So he brings that element to it as well. He's also trained a lot of professionals in, professional networking, reputation building. And today we're going to be talking about charity events and, turning, charity events and hosting and charisma and all of these different elements into all kinds of stuff, currency, dating opportunities, and in a way that's, very, very slept on. Right. So, rooms like the ones he's going to talk about today, filled with a lot of purpose, where, everybody's not just like circle expands, but also their impact. Right. And then, things like causes and, things like charitable organizations and stuff. So everything becomes aligned, and it's a very, very intelligent and purpose driven way to, go about the social game. I'm so excited to have you on, JaMarr. Thanks for coming, man.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for having me, man. This is a long time in the making. We still got to get into the room together with one another. I'm excited for that. At some point, 2026 will be our year. But yeah, gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in, for making some time. I know we all have a lot of things going on in our lives. And so, you see something pop up on your schedule. Some of you guys made a priority out of that, and I appreciate that, because I feel like I'm going to try to, give you the full game. Obviously, there's only so much that we can cover here. Brian, what's this call scheduled for? About an hour max? Or I want to do about 30 minutes and then open it up for questions, because I definitely want to make sure I can tailor this as much as possible for you guys. So we're doing about 30 minutes, Brian, and then
yeah, hour total, maybe a little bit more for Q&A. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm traveling right now. I'm in Salt Lake City, about to speak at an event for a corporation for about 500 people. Okay. I'm all sold out of my actual book, but I've got, flyers and handouts and things like that, so people can get the digital book, the audio book, and things like that. So I'm always connecting, but I'm always having a leave behind, a powerful leave behind. But a leave behind is even more powerful when you can do so from the stage. And so there's two approaches that I want you all to consider when you're thinking about charitable events. One is, of course, is creating the event, hosting the event. Because when you do that, it's a signal. It's like a signal flare to your network, to people of influence, people of power, to women, that you are a leader. And so I always recommend that you consider that option, but it is a big undertaking. So I'm also going to share another strategy with you, which is how to attend existing events, but do more than just buy a ticket to show up. Go the next step. Make a connection, connecting potential sponsors to the organization. Because now in the eyes of those sponsors, in the eyes of the event organizers, you are a power player. That's where you go from being seated at table 97 to being seated at table 5, right? Close to the real power players. So let me take you guys back about 27 years. Now, I probably don't look like it, but I'm actually 46 years old. You know that saying, black don't crack and age no raisin? Well, body game is hella important, bro. Because I'm 46 and I still date 24, 25-year-olds. I date 30-year-olds. Why? Because my body game is tight, but also when your body game is on point, you look younger. If you look old and wore out, you got to have a lot of bread to mess with women that are young and healthy and maybe are thinking about a family, right? So that's one first and foremost. But 28 years ago, 1997, the first time I ever spoke on stage was in front of 2,000 people at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. And you can check the receipts because I've got the video footage of that event. In attendance was a gentleman named Kofi Annan, who at the time was the head of the United Nations. And Kofi Annan was, a prominent force, global force. Now, at the time, it was my 18th birthday. I didn't really understand the magnitude of the situation, but luckily the organization did. And so they had a speech coach who was also a thespian who trained us 2 days a week for 6 weeks leading up to that appearance. Now, that night for the organization, Facing History and Ourselves, they raised a little over $2 million. But here was a transformational moment for me because, I gave my speech. I was the headliner of the 3 young students who were sharing their experiences. What really shifted me was at the end of my talk, when the event was over, first of all, the MC was like, man, I hate to have to follow these young guys, right? So he was already like, wow, these kids are advanced as speakers. But then what happened next was a bunch of different business owners, executives ran up to the stage to greet us as we were leaving the stage, and they had business cards. And they were saying things like, hey, come intern with us. Come in. And at the time, I had done an internship, and it was a paid one that I did when I was in high school. But I had bigger aspirations for myself. So in my mind, I'm thinking I graduate high school, I'm going to go join the military and then generate the money for college. That was my plan. So the idea of going and interning for a little bit of money, I didn't find it appealing, but I had 17 business cards that sat in a shoebox for a long time before I understood the significance of it. Now, fast forward, I ended up joining the Marine Corps first, followed my father's footsteps, my uncle's footsteps, rest in peace, both of those men in my life. I spent 2 years in the Corps. But one thing I did before I enlisted, and this is why I don't know if you guys, right, I don't know if you be teaching these guys that leaders are readers, but this is why you gotta fill yourself up with more knowledge. Obviously, it's gonna make you connectable. It's gonna allow you to talk on a wide variety of subjects when you meet people. But when I was sitting in the recruiter's office, I noticed that he was showing me these different jobs. They were enlisted jobs. And I noticed behind him there was a book with the word sideways that said NROTC. And I said, hey, Staff Sergeant Mickens, what's the NROTC? Mind you, I'm 17 at the time. And he's like, oh, that's for people who are going to become officers one day. Now, I don't know about you, but I think extremely highly of myself. And so in my mind, I planned on getting a degree. And so the idea of becoming an officer seemed like a plausible idea for me. So I said, hey, Staff Sergeant, I'd love to take a look at that, but I'd love to read through it. And he says, all right, well, you got to go through a whole process to get approved. You got to get letters of recommendation. He laid out all these things where to most people, they might go, that's too much work. But I'm not afraid of hard work. So I was like, hey, listen, Staff Sergeant, I got a deal. I'll enlist over here if you help me meet all of these requirements over here, and then we'll let the cookies crumble. We'll let it fall where it may. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And so we went on that crusade. And so throughout my senior year, not only did I end up valedictorian, not only was I the MVP of my high school basketball team, and mind you, it wasn't talent alone that made me the MVP. My teammates voted me MVP, not because I was the most skilled, not because I was the hardest worker, because I was the best leader, because I kept them together. I was the coalescer. And that's, if anything, if there's one thing I want you to think about today when we leave here, is how can you be the super connector within your circle? What that means is a combination of when people need stuff done, they come to you. They look to you as the solution person. If you can be that, then the next logical thing is to run a charity event or play a prominent role in someone else's existing event, and then you don't have as much workload, and maybe all you got to do is bring one sponsor to the table, and now you're the golden child within that organization. And year after year after year, your status continues to rise. So I applied for the ROTC scholarship. Normally you do it as a junior. I did it as a senior. And so therefore, when I graduated high school, my goal was, okay, I'm going to enlist. I'm going to be a man of my word. I'm going to enlist. But I read the fine print, and the fine print said that if I got that scholarship, that I would be able to leave active duty, go to reserve duty, and be on my way to become an officer. 2 years into my enlistment, I got the call. Time to go to college. So I ended up going to Auburn University in Alabama. Why? Because I was stationed in I was stationed in Pensacola. I was from New York. I was thinking about going to UC Berkeley in California, right? Exploring the continent. But I thought to myself, man, I'm gonna be in college. I'm gonna be kind of a little bit broke. I want to stay close to home so I can make it up to the East Coast. I had a friend who's from Louisiana. He had already been accepted to Auburn. And so I went with him on a visit, already knowing I had a full academic scholarship in hand, covered book tuitions and fees. I thought I also had the GI Bill waiting for me. So in my mind, I was going to be going to school full time. I was going to be making about $30,000, $40,000 a year without having to work. It was going to be the dream. And because of my network, I had somebody who was like, yo, come with me. I'll show you how to get into the school. When you show up with bread, when you show up with capital, it is very easy to get accepted to just about any school, especially if you have the grades. And so, boom, I got accepted on the first try into Auburn. Spent 4.5 years there. And it was the golden years of Auburn, mind you, right? This is when, you had to be slick about paying the college players, and we was good at it. So Auburn's football team was insane. Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown, right? Jason Campbell. We had a squad. We went undefeated one year. And literally the year after I graduated, that's when Cam Newton came and ran the table, undefeated national championship. So Auburn was an incredible time. And I had a good experience. And I listened to some mentors, and I got some good networking in, but I regret not understanding the networking game to a higher level. That's the one regret I have from college, because there's some connections from there. Like the current CEO of Apple went to Auburn University. So imagine if you make the right connections. I was a business major. Undergrad was accounting with a minor in marketing. And so I made some good connections there. But I wish I could have done better had I only known how to really super connect and not simply collect cards and collect names. It's about really being intentional with these meetings. Now, halfway through my college career, I decided to switch to the Navy as an option instead of the Marine Corps as an option to be an officer, because all of my mentors at college were Navy guys. And they were talking about the differences between the branches and how you'd really get to explore the world, and how, if you actually chose, the Navy, you could go to Japan, and from Japan, it'll be a tipping point. You could jump off and hit the whole Pacific. And so I did that. I lived in Yokosuka, Japan. I traveled all through Japan, obviously, Hong Kong, Singapore, Guam, Kota Kinabalu, Saipan, Vietnam. The list goes on. But here is where I remembered my roots in philanthropy, because one of my collateral duty roles was as the community relations officer. What does that mean? That means every time we have a port visit, I just carve out a couple of hours for some sort of activity. It might be cleaning up a park. It might be, tearing down some old buildings in certain countries, right? And for that, you get acknowledged as a leader on a different level. You get your face and name in the local papers in those countries. I still got the clippings on my wall, because that's how intentional I am about this activity. But also you teach, the people that you lead, how it's not just all about self. Like, the more you give, the more you truly do receive, if you play your cards right. And so that experience was really amazing. Now, coming back to America, I returned to the States in about 2007, 2008. I was on a fast track to success as a naval officer. And in 2005, though, that's when I discovered stand-up comedy. And my first ever experience was in Newport, Rhode Island. I drove up to Boston in December of 2005 when I was just visiting for 30 days to get trained up for my ship to become the anti-submarine warfare officer. I saw the cast of the Dave Chappelle Show. Kyle Grooms, Marina Franklin, Bill Burr was the middle act. Darnell Rawlings, rest in peace, Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, was the headliner. I'm talking about my head exploded with the possibilities and the understanding of the crossover between just speaking, but then speaking with authority and having humor at your, like having it like as like a weapon that you can wield whenever you want to. I was like, that right there is what I got to do. I saw what they did. Plus, I did the math. I was in this venue that had about 800 people. It was one of 9 sold-out shows, $45 a ticket, 2 drink minimum, plus food, plus drinks. I did the math, and I was like, yo, they just did $1.2 million in 1 week in one comedy club because they had motion. And I was like, wow, this is a business I didn't even know existed. And so at that age, at 25 years old, I began that quest to go try to master that particular skill set. Now, if you're a smart guy, you know that there's only really 2 ways, there's 3 ways to learn, right? There's trial and error on your own. There's reading a book or watching some sort of media content to learn about it and then trying it on your own. And then there's also paying and investing in coaching so that somebody can actually show you how to not make the same mistakes that they made in the past, right? Those are the 3 real ways. And so I did all of those things. I bought every book that I could find. I went to courses. I went to seminars. You know what I mean? I went to the club every single week. Like that was what I did in my spare time. You know, and I fit dating in between there. But in many of the books that I read, there was 2 amazing books. The first book that I remember getting was called Comedy, FAQs, and Answers. And what was so powerful about that book is because it basically made it a direct correlation between being a comedian and being an entrepreneur. They're not different. As a comedian, your jokes are your product, right? But how do you distribute your product? How do you make more for your product? All of that's a function of your business development. All of that's a function of your network. How do you get into the right places? How do you get seen in the right places? How do you elevate your brand with media, right? So that your price can go up. And so I realized, okay, this is really a business. And so it was at that point, at the age of 25, that I started getting more intentional about networking, about connecting. Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So I'm doing comedy now for about 4 years. The year is now 2009. I'm still a naval officer. Now I'm living in Monterey, California. I'm going to graduate school, getting my master's degree in systems engineering analysis. I've got 4 years of, working on material, getting better as a speaker, constantly networking. I've got a comedy business card that cracks people up, right? I'm building a list, emails and phone numbers. In fact, at my actual phone right now, I have over 15,000 contacts directly in my phone. These are numbers that I made hand to hand. And so, do you think that's 10,000 hours of mastery? I'm actually going to send a screenshot right now to Brian so he can validate what I'm saying, because you know what I say, documentation beats conversation all day, every day. And I'm going to share some things with you guys here on the screen in a second to validate what I'm saying to you. So 2009, I'm going to graduate school. I'm doing comedy on the side. I'm having a great time. I'm on the dating apps. This is the golden age. This is OkCupid. This is, all of these apps are coming online. Match.com's been out for years. I'm just having fun, right? Constantly connecting. And I'm going up to Oakland to meet this girl on a date. She's a school teacher. It's raining outside. At the time, I'm a lieutenant, 20, right? I'm about 27. I'm about 28 years old right now. I'm driving the brand new BMW 335i when it first came out, the turbocharged twin tail pipes, right? The moon roof, graphite, gray. I feel like I'm balling. I'm doing all right. I'm making 6 figures. I'm not super balling, but I feel like I'm doing good from where I'm from. And so when I go to pick this girl up, it's drizzling outside. I put her on my arm. I got the umbrella. I'm like a gentleman. I'm walking into the car, and we look across the street, and there's a line of people standing in the rain. And I was like, what are those people in the rain for? And she says, Dave Chappelle just got back from Africa. And I was like, word, are you serious? Remember Dave disappeared after he left? When he walked away from $50 million, he disappeared. And so I was like, okay, let me get this straight. Dave Chappelle is here. Let's go see him. She was like, I would love to, but I'm a school teacher. I got a limited budget and the tickets are expensive. I was like, how much are the tickets? And she says, $55. Y'all, I was like, oh, come on. I'm a lieutenant in the Navy. Look at my car. I got it. We're bowling tonight. It's all on me. So we go get in line. And the only reason why we get in is because 8 people did not show up for will call. Somebody got their computer, their mic on. Could you mute yourself, please? Thank you. And so we only get in because 8 people didn't show up for will call, and the rain must have kept them away. And so we managed to get into the show. Now, before the show, this is back when I'm still a rookie at networking. I'm just handing out business cards, all silly, right? Just trying to build my brand. It's like ABC, always be connecting, right? Dave Chappelle comes out at 10:35. He starts killing the audience. He's murdering the audience. He does it for like 90 minutes straight. We're like, yo, this is incredible. This was the second show of the night, so he was planning on going on for as long as he wanted until the audience couldn't take no more. Well, 90 minutes into the show, this Latino couple up front, who was very inebriated, kept yelling, Rick James, bitch, the whole time. They kept yelling Rick James like every 5 minutes, just sporadically. And Dave was handling them at first, but he got tired of it because he's like, I got stuff I'm trying to work on. So he's like, security, they ain't got to go home, but they got to get the hell out of here. He got them kicked out. It was at that moment that my date was like, hey, JaMarr, I'm having so much fun. Thank you so much for bringing me, but I got to get up at 5:30. It's a little after midnight. I got to go. And so I said, I understand. And so I kissed on his cheek. Mwah. I'll see you later. Text me when you get home because I'm not leaving. This is a master class going on right now, right? So she takes off. She only had to go right across the street. So it wasn't like she had to go far, right? It was like 150 yards. So she leaves, and there was a little cute blonde sitting to my left. And I want you guys to listen closely because this is the power of connecting in a deep way with people. Because the little blonde girl, I don't know if she was with someone, but she elbowed me and she says, hey, JaMarr, let's go take those 2 seats up front that those people got kicked out at. And me, I'm an officer in the Navy. I follow rules for the most part. And I was like, we got to sign these seats, girl. I ain't trying to get us kicked out. But she said, no, don't worry, we will, right? And I thought to myself, what if that's one of the keys to success is to think like a little pretty cute white girl, right? Like just like in her mind, you see something, go for it. So I was like, all right, I'll tell you what, you go first and I'll go behind you. So I crept behind her. She sat down, I sat down. We're sitting 8 feet from Dave Chappelle. Then this little cute blonde girl, she's on my other side. She nudges me again 10 minutes later. She says, JaMarr, why don't you give Dave Chappelle your comedy business card so he knows you're a comedian and maybe he'll take you on the road with him? And I was like, oh, the naivete of this girl. But she has a point. I got to figure out how to get his attention without making a scene, right? So I took my comedy business card out. I put it face up on the stage. And no kidding, y'all. 30 minutes later, Dave Chappelle looked down while he was transitioning between some of his material. And he was like, whose card is this? And he picks it up and he reads it out loud. And this is exactly what he said. Because I'm actually going to just play you the audio because, like I said, documentation beats conversation. So give me one moment here to share my screen. Pull this up right here. There we go. Let me share the window. Live. Audio share. Let me know if y'all can hear this. I'm going to play it right now.
Whose card is this? Is this you? Oh, it is you. Comedian, writer, singer, artist, handyman. by far the most hilarious business I have ever seen in my life. This guy's gonna make $1 billion. JaMarr, I'm serious. You're gonna make a lot of money one day.
You think so?
Just judging off this car, I'm gonna forget you. And then a year from now, I'm gonna be doing my laundry, and you're like, oh, I remember those paints. I'm gonna pull this card out, and I'm gonna start cracking up laughing. And then I'll call you up. And you know the saddest part of that whole scenario? It'll still be the same number. Hello, this is JaMarr speaking. You know this handyman service? Oh, I do. I'm a handyman. Get this. I'm just joking, man. That was a hilarious story.
I just wanted to share a bit of that with you guys so you can see that situation happened. And from there, it expanded my mind around networking. Of course, I've met and worked with Dave Chappelle since then, on many occasions, from New York to LA, of course. And somebody said, how long ago? This was like November of 2009 is when this actually was. So we're talking about 17 years ago, okay? We're in 2026. It's been a minute. So I've been on this mission for a while now. So let's fast forward. So at that moment, I got validation from the GOAT that I was funny. I knew 2 things for sure and 3 things for certain. And when that moment happened, number 1 is I knew that I was funny, right? Number 2, I knew that Dave thought I was funny. But number 3, I wrote a joke that Dave Chappelle read. So technically, I could say that I'm a writer for Dave Chappelle, right? No BS. I wrote it. You heard him. He read my card. So that was the motivation that I needed to say, okay, nobody could tell me nothing at this point. I got validation from the GOAT. Dave went on to perform for 6.5 hours, and it was a comedy masterclass. It was a business masterclass. And most importantly, it was an integrity masterclass. Because when you truly know your worth and understand that in the marketplace and understand how to bring value places, that's when making 6 figures in your sleep is easy. Now, for me, the goal is 7 figures in a year. That's my actual goal. Last year, I raised $1.1 million for 7 charities. So why not do that for my own business? But that means you got to have a diversified strategy. So let's talk about the strategies. 1 is to run the events yourself, which you don't have to start big. You can start small. And then 2 is to leverage existing events. Now, I operate primarily in 10 cities. I won't name all of them, but Austin, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, New York City, Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa, Los Angeles, San Francisco. I'm in Salt Lake, Chicago, Denver, right? The list goes on because I understand how to market myself. But I also have a particular set of skills that mean that I'm not paying to come to these events. I'm being paid $5,000 to $7,000 to show up and maybe MC the event. But more importantly, I raise money. So I consider myself a primordial rainmaker. And what that means is I know how to evoke emotions in people to compel them to want to give more money. In fact, at one of my last events I did in Miami, it was at the Perez Art Museum. Now, this was one of those, this is when I was like, yo, I got to hit Brian up about these events, because I'm like, yo, all of the beautiful women at these events, all of these movers and shakers, I'm like, this is the perfect atmosphere to be cool, calm, relaxed, and connect with dozens of people at a time around an important cause. Now, the Perez Art Museum was doing something in February for the African-American art exhibit that they had. They have a $6 million fund. They spend down 4% of that fund every year to buy one major piece that gets placed in the museum. Why do they do that? In part to set the market for the value of those art pieces. Because as Brian may know, and some of you may know, art is that next level game of wealth magnification, because art is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And so when you can get people to set the value of something that someone just spent time drawing or painting or whatever, and now that thing is worth $250,000 now, there's a projection of how that is going to be worth in the next 10 years. So a lot of wealth gets created with just art alone. And so I'm learning more about the art world. I've got people that are curators and friends, right? Educate yourself, because when you hang around in these rooms where art is being purchased, now you're in the rooms with people who've got real significant wealth. So I did this event. I showed up. I was the fundraiser. And one of the guys, when I got off the stage, he said to me, he goes, I'm mad at you because I didn't plan on coming up off all this money tonight, but you compelled me. And so if you can raise the money from the stage, and here's the beautiful thing, even if you're brand new at it, never have done it before, but if you're personable, if you're energetic, obviously the skills can be taught, but if you can volunteer and to take that role sometimes, because some organizations don't have the money to hire someone like me. Right now, I get about 40 leads a month that come into my inbox from all of those cities that I've mentioned to you that I'm marketing in. And I can't always do those events because they're like, oh, our budget's only $1,000. You know what I would love to do? I'd love to have a connect in a different city and say, well, listen, I've got a junior fundraiser that I'm training and working with who would be more than happy to do it for $1,000. Would that be something you're open to? I can make the connection. And then boom, I can send that deal your way. And now you can show up, go up, impress the crowd, but more importantly, meet tons of people from that role. Brian will attest to this. He or she who controls the stage has instant authority and credibility in the mind of the people watching. Am I right, Brian? Help me out here.
That's right.
Instant, right? And so even if you go in and just go in as like an MC and just help out a little bit in that regard, right? Help set the mood for the night. That is a significant role that is not super complicated. You just want to be better than just reading off the page, okay? You want to make sure your ability to communicate and present is just a cut above average. If that's the case, you're going to get a lot of recognition. You're going to get a lot of connections, because women love men who are in power and in control. That's just the bottom line. And that's not just the women who don't have any power. That's the women with power. Women mate across and up, right? Men, we mate across and down, up, matter. It doesn't matter to us, but they have a specific bent towards up. So the easiest thing you could do is elevate yourself by being on that stage. Perhaps you come on to just present something. The key is, do you have a speaking role? And see, ultimately, what Brian teaches, what a lot of guys teach, it comes down to the same thing: is your ability to communicate is your ace in the hole. That is only going to improve by reps, of course, but the right reps, right? Focus reps and knowledge. You've got to not just have knowledge of yourself, you have got to have knowledge of the world around you. You got to be a reader so that you can be a leader. Now, in organizing these events yourself, here's the beautiful thing. This does not mean that you have to create a nonprofit organization. Just find one that you vibe with. This is where attending events is so important, because you could ask people in between their annual galas, hey, what are you doing quarterly to raise money and awareness for your cause? I'd love to organize something for you. No organization is going to say no. Now you've got the name and brand attachment, and then you can start to go recruit and enlist people in that mission to help you do the fundraising. So it's not like you got to come out of bread yourself. You enlisted from the community, if you know what I'm saying. I'll give you an example. There was an event that I did in LA, in Los Angeles, in 2018. It was called the Sleep Out. Now I'm gonna pull it up. They do these all across the country, right? The sleepout.org. Now, the Sleep Out is an event that happens through an organization called the Covenant House. Okay? So, Sleep Out is a global movement to end youth homelessness. Is that not a worthy cause? Now, I don't know if some of you have been to Los Angeles or not, but at the time of the event that I did in 2018, I did 2 years in a row. I did 2017, I did 2018. Slept outside on the hard concrete cardboard box. But guess what? I had my girl who was a baddie at the time. I had her with me. I had a bunch of other friends. It was like 10 of us. Plus, we enlisted the support of over 45 people and raised $5,000. Had our team name, had a little cardboard sign that they printed out with our names on it so we can take pictures for social media. It had ripples effect. It led to countless meetings. It helped my business. I wouldn't say exponentially, but definitely 3, 4, 5x of the time invested. But there wasn't any money invested. We just showed up. We just paid our way through by fundraising for this opportunity. Now, here's this: find an event. They have these events all over the country. The next one coming up is the 27th of March. It says Camden Community Edition. View all. Look, click this link, and now I can look at all the events. Look, New York City, New Orleans, Missouri. So these types of events happen all over because this is a national organization. They literally have 82 locations. Now, I'm not saying you got to do a sleep out, but I'm just saying find an event with a worthy cause that you can relate to, that you can get down with, and then whether you do their specific event or whether you try to create your own little gathering to bring people together, that is going to put you into the graces of that organization. Now, when they have private dinners, they invite you out because they know that you are a part of helping them meet their goals every year. Some of these organizations like the Sleep Out, I mean, they have multi-million-dollar annual budgets. So they're getting money from private donors, they're getting government money, all sorts of funds. But the minute that you start being responsible for, I didn't say you had to pay $5,000, but the minute that you help raise $5,000, you now matter to hundreds of people that you didn't even think you would, that would even know you. And now what you do, what your business is, now they want to reciprocate. They want to network for you. They want to become raging fans for you. So I have this process, I call it OD4R. Over deliver in value what you receive in price. If you do that first part, there are 4 byproducts of that. I call them the 4 R's. The first R is that you get to remain your authentic self. I don't know about you, but I love being me. I love being just who I am. I don't got to fake the funk for nobody. I know where I provide value. Some people get me, some people don't. It's so cool. Everybody don't got to like me. I like being authentic to myself. So remain real. The second R is to have real impact in the lives of people around you. See, that's what leadership is. It's just having impact. Sometimes it's helping business partners make more money. Sometimes it's helping a charity make more money. But at the end of the day, it's all the same objective. How do you help have more for your circle, for your network? Because when you do that, they're going to start referring you around for what you do well. The third R, this is the one that you guys need more of. Raging fans. Who is talking about you when you're not around, and what are they saying? Are they talking about the incredible work you're doing in the community? Why do you think every single one of these NBA teams and NFL teams and NHL teams and MLB teams all have community outreach programs? What do you think it's for? To network. It's how business works. You show up places, you meet celebrities, and you realize that they're there using their celebrity to help attract people to the event. I did an event in Chicago called Guitars Over Guns. I auctioned off a lunch with Common, the rapper, for $5,000. There was congressmen there. There was all sorts of business people there. And there were people that I met there that I met in Miami. right? Because the philanthropy world is a small world, and a lot of people just don't know the game, so they kind of stay away from it. But it gives you access to incredibly powerful people. I did an event called the Red Cross of South Carolina, and in attendance was a woman who is literally the third richest woman in the state of South Carolina. We took a little selfie together, making connections. Now, I might never do business with her, but if I have a picture with her and I send that to someone that I'm trying to do business with in the South Carolina area, they're going to know who she is. And so that's where that proximity and association is a powerful thing. And so the ability for you to go to events, that's super easy. Start to go and start to feel it out. Now, I mentioned the 4 R's. There's one last R, and that's be ready to receive the abundance that flows your way. It's something insane about the universe, you guys, when you really start like giving authentically. I'm not saying give any specific percentage, just giving authentically. And to be honest with you, giving of your time and your energy and your creativity and your network is honestly way more powerful than your money, because the network can continue to expand, right? Instead of giving an organization simply $100, help bring 10 people more aware of that organization's cause and mission. And if each of you only gave $10 now, every time you gave and they gave, now they've got $100 coming on an annual basis. Like, that's what creates the value. It's the people, it's the network. So I mentioned how to do it from the stage, MC role, fundraiser role. You can volunteer for those roles, because some of you might not be like, well, I'm not a professional speaker. I can't go after it from a paid standpoint. You don't have to. I've been speaking for 28 years, and I've been raising money for that amount of time. And so for me, when someone says, hey, we're trying to raise $150,000, I'm pretty confident and say, okay, well, I'll charge you $5,500 plus travel. And if I make them just $100,000, they only pay me 5% of what I'm making them. So that's a very fair exchange, no robbery, right? I have a mentor who's been fundraising, and she does auctioneering all around the country. Her standard rate is 7,000. She doesn't even leave the house unless it's 7,000. She does 3 to 4 of those a month. And that's aside from her other businesses. You see, think about it. If I get paid to speak at 2 charity events a month for $5,000, that's $10,000, and I still have 28 days left in the month to do all sorts of stuff, right? To give keynotes, to give trainings, to do corporate, corporate trainings, both live and virtual. So speaking opens up so many doors. It allows you to get on stage and help charities in your area. Now, I want to challenge you guys to do this thing for me. I want you guys, to whatever city you're in, I want you to go to Google and say, top 10 charities in my city. Just type it and see what pops up. So like right now, I'm in Provo, Utah. Top 10 charities in Provo, Utah. I'm Googling it right now. I'm gonna share my screen with you.
Second Harvest Silicon Valley popped up for me.
Okay. I mean, and if you look at the people that are on the board of those charities, my G, Brett, you're gonna see major players of major corporations that are on the boards of these companies, of these charity events. So we're talking about high level networking. So check this out. I'm in a city that I don't even live in. I'm just here speaking for the weekend. Look, Community Action Service and Food Bank, assisting 20,000 individuals. Tabitha's Way Food Pantry, United Way of Utah County, the Refuge Utah, Charity Vision International. So I'm just trying to point out to you that these things there are dozens of these things. If there are 33 million small businesses in America, there's at least 3.3 million charities, right? 10%, there's at least that. I'm pretty sure the number is even higher than that. But there's charities large and small. Now, the real power play is coming in and either leading it, being on the stage at some point, presenting something, helping to bring some either grant money or some sponsorship money to an event. Case in point, I just got reached out to on LinkedIn just yesterday. Again, we're gonna do some more. We're gonna do some more documentation beats conversation. I'm gonna show you how it works once you get the ball rolling, right? Once people know that they can rely on you, I'm gonna pull up this email, this message here on my screen, right into my inbox on LinkedIn. All right, you guys can see my screen. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can read it even better, right? Now let's scroll up. You can see right here, Wednesday at 12:58 p.m. Just slid into my DMs on LinkedIn. Hi, JaMarr, reaching out on behalf of the Solar Foundation. Anything with a .org in it, that means nonprofit, right? We're doing an event. It's an annual gala. Cirque du Soleil. Instead of Cirque du Soleil, they did a play on words. Number of guests, 300 to 400 people, right? Here's the approximate schedule. Here's the fundraising goal. Look, 75,000 or 100,000. I specialize in six-figure raises. So this is gonna be light work with this amount of people. Well, we gotta do some simple math, right? If they want to raise $100,000, $100,000 divided by 400 people, that means that I need to make, excuse me, let me see, $250 a person. That's all I need to make, right? And we got levels here. So there's going to be some companies who come and give 25 G's. There's going to be 2 or 3 that give 10. There's going to be 5 or 6 that give 5, right? I'm going to get to that number, but I'm going to do it through humor, through connection, through storytelling, right? I'm going to be up there moving and shaking and sweating, and then I'm going to hit the goal, and then when I get up the stage, I'm going to get congratulated like I hit game 6, like I was Michael Jordan. That's how it goes. And so you basically walk into people's arms like, oh, you did it. Now everybody wants your number. Everybody wants a picture with you. Bro, at one of our events, bro, Chance the Rapper pulled up in Chicago at the event that I did for Guitars Over Guns, right? I'm gonna find that photo for you guys real quick and then share it on my screen. But my whole point is that you never know who you're gonna meet at these events. And so put some work in to skill yourself up as a speaker so that you can host it, you can MC it, right? You can present something. Even better, you could be the primordial rainmaker like me and make it rain. Because when you're the money man, not only are you getting paid to be there, but you're basically getting paid to audition to go speak at other places. You think with those 400 people, you think there's going to be about 10 companies there that I might be able to go speak at from that point forward? You better believe it. And so the charity game, from a networking standpoint, everyone's listening. A lot of times they got open bars, right? So imagine you pull up there, you ain't got to spend a bunch of more bread, right? You just show up, you enjoy yourself. Don't get sauced out, right? Keep yourself sharp, but enjoy yourself. Help other people enjoy themselves. I'm gonna tell you one last thing here before opening up for questions. But I did this when I did the charity event for South Carolina. There was a gentleman that I noticed wasn't drinking any champagne. We were up in the VIP reception area. That's the other thing. See, when you're on the team for the event, you get to show up to the VIP reception and you get to network 2 hours before the event even happens, when it's not as hectic. So you get to go deep with whoever you choose, right? You get to take your time and you get to really form family, occupation, recreation, motivation. When you form people, you get to know their deepest, darkest desires that they're trying to accomplish. And then you get to say, you know what, I might know somebody who can help you with that. We should grab coffee after this. We should grab lunch after this. And listen, the boss move is always to be like, I would love to take you out for a quick bite, for a quick meal. Pay that price, because now they're not stressed. They're like, wow, this person's treating me like royalty. And in return, the law of reciprocation follows. So let me tell you about this. I call this the $10,000 glass of Coca-Cola. So this man wasn't drinking any champagne, and I was observing. I was like, man, I was like, hey, can I get you something to drink? He goes, oh, no, I don't drink. He's like, I'm clean and sober, 35 years. I was like, oh wow, congratulations. Now me, I'm a super connector, so I instantly look for a connection point, and I said, you know what? My mother's going on 34 years this year. She goes, wow. So now he's taking it back because I was so willing to just share something vulnerable as well. I know the process. My mother's in NA, he's in AA, NA, and he's in GA. The boy was doing everything. He was doing the most when he was a youngster. But now he's here at this VIP reception, a very wealthy, successful man, and he's trying to make atonement for the things he's done in his past. So I'm like, cool. So I said, we were talking, we were vibing, and then I said, non-alcoholically speaking, if you could have something to drink, what would it be? And he says, man, I'd love a nice Diet Coke. I said, okay, cool, that's what's up. And there was no Diet Coke in the VIP reception because a sponsor was there. They had champagne, and only champagne was being poured up there. They're like, no, we don't want no other brands in the VIP reception because we paid money for this, right? So here's what I did. I walked my way down to the outside bar, asked them for a Diet Coke, and walked it back up. Now, mind you this happened last year when I had a partially torn Achilles. Luckily, it didn't require surgery, but I was literally performing, speaking, and fundraising with a boot on my foot. I kid you not. Why? Because I don't know about you, but I'm used to having $20,000, $30,000 a month come in. There's no way I'm gonna go a month without that, if possible. So the fact that I didn't need surgery meant that I could keep taking care of my engagements, and so I kept making it happen. So I'm walking with my boot. I bring him a glass of Diet Coke. Now later on during the fundraise, we're almost wrapped up. I think we're like at $195,000. No, excuse me. We're at $295,000, right? We're doing our thing. I'm feeling good. You know, the goal was 250, so we're almost at 300,000. And then I was about to wrap it up. And the man that I got the Diet Coke for, right? He said, he raised his hand, he waved me over. And I was like, oh. And so I stopped. I was going to wrap things up. And I said, hold on a second. We got a special request. And I limped off the stage. I went over to him. I leaned in. He says, his name was Peter Stage. He goes, hey, JaMarr, I will give another $5,000 if somebody else would match me. And I was like, oh, I was like, word. And he was like, he didn't just mean 5 though. And I messed up, but I went back on stage. Like, hey, we got a special request. This gentleman over here to my right says that he'll give another $5,000 if you can get somebody in this room to just give $5,000 more dollars. And of course, it was silent. Everybody was looking around like, I ain't giving another 5,000. And finally, somebody on his side of the room in the back was like, hand popped up, 5,000, boom. So another $10,000 went into the till, putting us over 300,000. So the final total was like $306,000. Everybody was happy. I left the stage a champion. Other people from other charity events were there. Like, oh my God, that was amazing. We got to exchange information. I might want to hire you. I had a senator's aide that was there who got my number. So it was magical. But here's the thing. Because I was willing to over deliver, I wasn't there to hand out Coca-Colas, but because I was thoughtful enough to just think, you know what, let me provide something for him that money can't buy, thoughtfulness. He ended up deciding to give more money. And even better is that we exchanged information, and I've subsequently followed up with him because I was curious. Because I was like, man, did I really just manifest that extra 10,000 with a can of Diet Coke? So I had to call to confirm because I had a suspicion that it had something to do with it. And so I called him 4 days after the event. It was, the event happened on Thursday. I called him on a Sunday. Like, hey, Pete, I got to ask you a question, man. This is, we were, out of left field, but what made you give extra at the end like that? Here were the 3 things he said. Number one, he's like, man, I felt bad because I knew how much wealth was in that room. And I knew other guys could have given a whole lot more. And so a part of me felt a little guilty. I was like, okay, that's understandable. He says, number 2, the cause was really important. He's like, man, I didn't realize how many people who suffer from sickle cell, if they only just had the right blood match, wouldn't have to suffer, would live better lives. So I feel like it was a great cause. I was like, that's amazing. He said, and the 3rd reason, he's like, us having this conversation right now. And I was like, wow. Because that was affirmation. Like, I wasn't fishing for him to tell me it was because of me. but it was affirmation that my suspicion was right. Why? Because OD4R, because how I do anything is how I do everything. I do everything great. I don't half-ass anything in my life. And in doing that, it led to not only him giving an extra $10,000, him also saying, hey, listen, anytime you're in Charleston, South Carolina, you got a place to stay. Don't worry about a hotel. You know what I mean? Like, people just invite you in their home because of how you show up in the world energetically. Now, this man is a highly successful businessman. He's always around the world. He's traveling around. But every 2-3 weeks, we have like a 10, 15-minute conversation from that moment on. Now, when I have new initiatives, when I have new projects that I'm working on, guess what? I have the ultimate high-level consultant who's like in his late 50s, early 60s that I can call upon and get some high-level gain that money can't buy. Now, listen, I charge typically $1,000 an hour to consult. I charge $5,000 to $7,000 to be on stage, right? So that might seem like a lot to some people, but I know in certain worlds that's nothing. There are certain attorneys whose billable hours is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, depending on who they serve, right? So from that regard, I know if I call him for advice, that is going to be some wealthy, well thought out advice from somebody who's strategically positioned to help me win big when the moment is right. So expanding your network with powerful people, that is what happens at charity events. It's not the club crowd. It's not the rah-rah, shish boom bah party crowd. This is the people who care about things and are trying to make a difference in the world. So you got to come right. You know, you got to have your game tight. You can't be half-stepping. You know, if you don't care about a cause, I would say don't go do it. Do stuff you care about. You get to choose the playground in which you play. But when you start playing at that higher level, like for example, I'll tell you one other quick story and then I'll open it up for questions. But when I was living in LA, I met a guy named Mayor who was a luxury home builder. And at the same time, he had a completely different entity, a nonprofit entity called the Dream Builders. And over the course of an 8-year period, they had done over 80 events with 50 different organizations. They say, hey, look, we are good at activating live events, bringing people out, right? Poker night, disco night, all sorts of stuff. You know, read books to the kids night, also all sorts of stuff like that. And what did that help him do? It helped him expand his network so he can sell more luxury homes. Now, it wasn't, he really cared about the causes because guess what? 100% of the money he raised for charity, he gave away. So the events, he covered the events out of his own pocket, but the money came back to him tenfold because then he would earn another luxury home client. And he's building homes for $3 to $5 million a piece. So this is not like a real estate agent getting a commission. He's the builder. So built into that price is profit. He probably makes, you know, $250,000 to $750,000, maybe even $1 million per home. So why not spend $50,000 to host an annual event if that's going to help you make $1, $2, $3 million in profit? So you don't got to start that big, of course. Start small. I mean, you could do a charity event for $500. And obviously, I know a little bit about what Brian teaches you guys with your system. And you're all going to be spending $500 to $1,000 at some point for an event on just ads alone. So imagine doing that in collaboration with a charity event. And now you got a built-in audience to come to the event. You got all of their people. You got their email list. You got their donor list. You do an event. It might cost you $500 to run it, but they'll bring all the people to you. And then you're the star of the show. You're the host with the most. Cheers, toast to the efforts that you are putting out into the universe, the efforts of abundance. But that is the ultimate way to do what I call the OPP strategy, right? Other people's people. One of the easiest questions you could ask when you talk to these charity events, these charity organizations is, hey, so how big is your email list? How big is your donor base? How many followers do you have, right? All of their people become your people because all you got to do, let's say you put on an event for them. Let's say you spend $500 to run an event for them. Do you think they're going to email their audience that, hey, Brett J. Woods is going to be hosting an event over at, you know what I mean? The JCC Conference Center, right? And now your face is boom, front and center. Then if you're smart, you talk to one of your friends in PR, you get them to write a little article about you in whatever local paper, and now you start building your reputation of excellence, reputation of doing good in the community. And at the end of the day, listen, I don't know about you, Brian, but when I talk to women now, they know my name. They Googling me. They trying to see what's popping over here. They trying to get the assessment. They trying to find out if you about something, if you got means. Not just means, if you have access, if you have influence. Money ain't enough. Mouthpiece ain't enough. Body game ain't enough. You got to be a fully evolved man. And that means you got to be a leader. Now, listen, you might not be the best leader yet. You got to learn how to follow first. But learn how to follow and then go take action and lead. And this charity strategy, I'm telling you guys, you're going to meet some of the highest quality people. You're going to meet, of course, there's going to be some flakesters in there, but for the most part, you're going to meet people that are honest, that are stable, that are trying to do good things in the world, and that when they see what's truly in your heart, they will be more willing to share your name, share what you do, and help you in any way to succeed. And then the last thing I'll say is this. On the tail end of coming back from that event in South Carolina, where I got to meet Mr. Peter Sage, right, with the $10,000 glass of Coca-Cola, which I've written about that story. That's why I know it so vividly, because it was like, yo, this is powerful. I'm really activating right now. I really got the glow right now, right? I'm coming home. It's a Friday. I'm going to my normal routine spot, Cheesecake Factory, to the bar for happy hour, just to, not even alcohol, just to get some food. And I see this girl with an amazing hat on. I'm like, oh, that's a beautiful hat. And she goes, oh, thank you. Right? She turned around and we started up a conversation, and we're talking for like 5 minutes in front of Cheesecake Factory. And finally, she goes, oh my God, I lost track of time. I'm meeting my business partners inside. Let me introduce you to them. So she brings me inside. She introduced me to her business partners. They all are doing some real estate in the western, the Dripping Springs portion of Austin, where I reside. And she also told me, oh, by the way, JaMarr's a fundraiser. He raises millions of dollars for charity. He's a speaker. He's a comedian, right? She's talking me up. After 5 minutes, she's like hyping me up. So they say, oh, maybe he wants to come to our event. We're doing a charity event tomorrow. It's a party. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, I want to just lay low. I just got back from a trip, but send me the details and I'll let you know if I can make it. So they sent me the details. It was $55 to go to the party, right? That was like a contribution. They were raising money for the orphans of Nepal. And this is how full circle this all is. So I decided, you know what? I got arrested on Saturday. I'm feeling good. Let me go to this party. I go to this party. I meet a bunch of cool people. They actually had a comedian performing at the party, a guy by the name of Brent Pella. If you go look up Brent Pella, Brent, Brent Pella, he follows me on Instagram. I met him at this party. He used to be on Wild 'N Out. He's actually producing a movie right now in Austin, Texas. So he's at this party. I meet him because I go to this charity event. So so now we're tight, and we're going to do some projects together. But more importantly, I meet this other guy named Michael. Now, Michael, he is a business development guy for a company called Warrior Sage. And Warrior Sage they help startup founders who have purpose-driven companies find angel investors who care about those types of businesses. And they were going to do an accelerator like a month from there. And he saw me because I ended up doing like a 3-minute little set at the party. After Brent Pella went, a few other people spoke, and then I signaled to the girl, I was like, yo, I'd love to do some time. And she's like, hey, we got this guy named JaMarr. I just met him yesterday. It's crazy. He's a fundraiser. And so I went up there. I did a couple minutes, made people laugh, but also I made an offer. I said, hey, listen, I would love to help any organizations out there raise some money. My fee is normally $5,000, but I would donate that time to a couple of organizations just to help your missions in the next year. So open invitation. If anybody's interested, let me know. Now, I don't have to give my time away for free. But I did that as a gesture so that I could enter that community and that network from a place of extreme power. Because all I got to do is 2 events, make some people 50,000 here, 100,000 there, and the word's gonna get out. Yo, JaMarr, he's magic on stage. And then from there, I'm just getting paid for every time out. But here's what happened even better. Michael, the guy I mentioned that I met, who works for the Stage Warriors, he said, "Hey, JaMarr, Lunch just said, hey, we're doing an accelerator in a month. There's gonna be 200 founders. Can you come roast the founder of the accelerator during at the last day of the event?" I said, absolutely. And so we talked about it. It was going to be for a small honorarium, like $500, but it was like, okay, I have fun, do like a 10-minute roast. I show up the day of the event. The equipment is rained out because they left it outside. It doesn't rain that much in Texas, but it rained the night before. So the equipment got rained out. And they said, hey, man, we're sorry. The equipment is, can you do it a cappella? And I was like, I'm not doing it a cappella for what you guys paid me. Those things. Let's reschedule. And they said they respected it. But then I got to meet the founder of the company, and the founder of the company does something called ayahuasca retreats in Peru. And come to find out, just through a series of continual conversations, the man I met in South Carolina, named Peter, I was planning on going on one of the Peru retreats with this company, Warrior Sage. So you got a guy named Peter Sage, you got a company named Warrior Sage, all thousands of miles apart. How did I meet him? Charity event. How did I meet Michael at another charity event? And that led to them pulling me into the circle. And now it's like I'm connecting all the dots. And now I'm having high-level conversations and I'm connecting dots with people that I would have never met had it not been for the charity events. One that I was paid thousands of dollars to be at, that I raised $300,000 at. Another one where I was contributing, bringing not just my $55, but contributing my energy and giving them a few moments of entertainment and giving them a offer worth tens of thousands of dollars. And that ingratiated me enough that it connected dots. And so opportunities are still flowing from that to this day. So that's all I got for right now. Obviously, I love what I do. I could talk about this forever, but I want to answer any specific questions to help set you guys up for success so that within the next quarter or so, you're either attending or adding this to your rotation of activities, because I think it'll have a tremendous impact in your lives. So let's open up the floor, Brian.
Yeah, Brett, you can go ahead, man. Javon.
Yeah.
Nah, immense value, man. JaMarr, hey, I appreciate you coming on here, man. You know what's crazy? I'm so glad I hopped on this call today.
Shout out to timing, right?
Man, I'm so happy I hopped on this call. This has just completely opened my mind up to a completely, another realm. Like, I didn't even realize what could be possible with something like this. And I'm actually more aligned with something like this than I actually realized. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm, being full time like yourself, making 20, 30, doing it. But man, I would love to, get paid for, improving my speaking skills. You know what I'm saying? To meet other, well connected and well versed people. Like that's a dream. That's a dream position to be in. You know what I mean? So congratulations to you for figuring this out, man. Like that's a hell of a thing, man. I'm so man, I'm really happy for you. I guess my question would be, all of it makes sense, right? I guess I'm just trying to figure out, like, how do you know when you are, I guess, ready enough to be able to, host, or not host, excuse me, to be on stage and
Sure.
get, persuade people into, taking money out their checkbook or whatnot. Like, I could probably speak to some people, but I don't know that I'm on like a Dave Chappelle level or JaMarr. Like, I don't know if I could do all that, So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the checklist that I need to do in order to be good enough to where people would actually value me going up on stage and maybe doing, a set, I guess is the best way to call it, I guess.
That's a great question, Brett. And so here's what I would say in terms of step one. Number one, I'm gonna throw a link in the chat to my calendar for a complimentary 30-minute discovery call with anybody who attends. And I'm gonna give the Brian, you can email it out to everybody on the replay as well. You can start booking sometimes the last week of this month into next month, right?
Okay.
I'll lay it out in more detail there, but I'll give you kind of a high level. So
Okay.
in comedy, there's something called your type five. Have you ever heard of that phrase, your type five?
No, I never. Oh, I think maybe I know what it is. It's like when you have other comedians test your work for you. I don't know.
Close.
Okay.
That's a good guess. Your type five is your ability to go on stage
Okay.
and just do 5 minutes
Oh, okay. Okay.
effectively, right?
Okay.
So if you can effectively do 5 minutes of real comedy,
Yeah.
make people laugh,
Wow.
MCing is easy because it's an extension of that. It's stretching that out. As an
Wow.
MC, you don't have the pressure to be as funny as a comedian.
Gosh.
As an MC, you're just up there to be jovial, to be light, right? To be energetic. I
Right.
like to tell people, listen, you want to be Wayne Brady, but straight. That's what you want to be, right? You want to get up there and be like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to tonight's affairs. We're here to raise money for an important cause. Did I say anything funny? No.
Just being good energy.
Just being good energy. Exactly. Yeah. But having that type five allows you to energetically shift the room when necessary so that you can just interject a joke here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like I spent 14 years in the Navy.
Right.
And I don't tell people that because I want their applause. I tell audiences that I spent 14 years in the Navy so that they know, as a black man, I can swim.
All right, that was good. That was good.
You see how I just slipped that in on command? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So because I have command of more, I could do an hour, I could do 90 minutes straight, right? Because I have that command, I could make an audience laugh when I want to. And while they're laughing, I'm thinking about, okay, let me organize this. Let me move to this next step. I got to transition over here. I got to introduce this guy. So while they're laughing, you're thinking about your next step. So in order to get a type five, I honestly could coach you and train you for about 6 weeks. 6 weeks is about how much time you need to write out your material so it's authentic to you, to rehearse it and train it. And so 6 weeks is typically, now with a 6-week program, you go to like a comedy club and they'll probably charge around $350, maybe $400 for 6 weeks. That's like, you could go to a comedy club and get that kind of training. Now, my training would be a little bit more intense, but it would probably be somewhere around like $500 for 6 weeks. But not only am I training you for about 3 hours a week, I'm also giving you access to digital open mics. So now you can go practice without me there. You can go practice, right? Because there's a whole digital network of places to speak now. That I'm aware of. So you can get better right from the comfort of your home. Now, of course, like you want to have a nice setup because I do virtual keynotes. I do talks. I get paid $3 to $5K to do a talk for a company right from my home studio. So there's a lot of money to be made when you can speak well, when you can lead an organization's event, when you can MC a conference, right? A charity event is just one angle because it allows you to kill multiple birds with a few stones. You're building your professional network. You're building your potential dating pool with higher quality people who give a damn about other things besides just how good they look.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And the fact that you care about that too, you're gonna resonate with you. Right now, listen. A girl who's fine but only cares about herself can't do nothing for me.
That ain't it.
That ain't it.
That ain't it.
I want to find somebody that I could potentially build with that's quality, right? And so you're going to find that at these types of events. And guess what? They're going to know other girls that you should know. If they, you know what I mean? Because a lot of them, some of the women, they're going to be married, the husband's going to be with them. But they know who their single friend is, who's quality. And because you're meeting them in a quality environment, they're going to be like, oh, we got to make some recommendations for you. So it helps you expand your business. It helps you expand your network with quality people. It helps you expand your dating pool. I met this beautiful reporter when I was in Miami. She was on the scene just capturing the content. And of course I bagged her up. Her name is LaMonica. I just reminded myself I need to send her a text. Like, hey girl, how you been? not for any nefarious reasons, just because it's just good to stay in touch. So when I'm in town, she could tell me what's cool, what's popping, where are the high quality activities going down. That's
Yeah.
the name of the game.
Yeah.
So Brian said we got time for a couple more questions. Also, let me put a link to my book. IamJaMarr.com/book. I wrote a book called Super Connecting, which teaches, high level connections, the art and science of creating meaningful relationships in the digital age.
Yeah.
And the coursified version of that book, which is only 3 chapters, is on LinkedIn Learning, and it's trained over 223,000 people and counting. Organically, it's just out there putting in work and allowing people to slide into my DMs. So, speaking is like one of the ultimate cheat codes to elevating your authority. Brian is living proof of that. I'm living proof of that. But start to either lead small initiatives, small events. Even if you put together a small group of like 5-10 people, but for the benefit of a larger organization, you now start to become an influential person that they want to cultivate a relationship with, so that over time you can help bring more value to them. But once you got your type 5, the MC skills are much easier than the type 5. And so now you can fall back into, hey, I would love to MC or host an event for you for your next, right? Because then that's going to save them from having to pay somebody like me $5,000 to $7,000 to come in. So you're going to be, that's a value add for them.
Yeah.
If you have the skills. So hop on my calendar sometime. We can talk about, acquiring those skills. And I think you'll find that they not only pay the bills, but they help expand your network, your horizons, and potential. Thanks so much for the question, Brett.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate the answer.
My pleasure. Any other questions, y'all? This is absolutely a blast for me. I love sharing what I'm doing.
I have a question, John. John, right?
JaMarr. My middle name is John, so JaMarr John Johnson.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for having this. I see a lot of overlap with other types of events, which a lot of people are doing. Like I do fashion events, and I really connect with the idea that the giving away piece really puts you in a space where you can connect with like high value, high exposure people. So I'm curious, this charity events, it seems like more nonprofit organizations, and you get into their connections.
Sure.
Is there anything very specific to non-profit, or is it same as any other business event? For example, there are business conferences a lot of people are doing, and I'm trying to get into, where you invite speakers on a particular topic like AI and EQ. That's where I'm getting into. So is there anything specific in the charity side? I know you said about raising money, but what is the core theme, and if it is different from any other business conference?
Well, obviously, the only real difference, so charity events operate in 2 specific ways. Either the ticket price alone is like that's the give, and they don't do any necessarily live fundraising. But a nonprofit and a for-profit business operate essentially the same. The only difference is the tax qualification, right? The tax categorization, rather. So they're all operating the same. You'll go to charity events and they'll have speakers who talk about all sorts of different things. They just tie it back into the charitable cause. Whereas if you go to a conference that's about AI, it's going to be business driven. They could easily add a nonprofit component and add a charitable component, right? They could auction off something at the event. So corporations do internal charity events. So most corporations have a charitable percentage that they give every year. So they kind of divvy it out amongst different charities. So when you go to their conferences, they'll mention the different things that they participate in. But you being in fashion is amazing, because guess what? I've done fashion charity events where they do a fashion show and then they auction off the pieces from the actual runway. So fashion is a really great one because you can, hey, we're raising money in collaboration with this nonprofit here. And again, the reciprocity of you might run a for-profit business, but you're just giving away either items or service or time or resources. It's not just money that you might give away. It could just be time and effort and energy or resources in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question?
It seems like it doesn't matter if the business is non-profit or for-profit. Like I think
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. No.
Got it.
Yep. Thank you so much.
One other question. How does this program which working with Brian, like I know he helps with like ads and all. I'm curious how it specifically helped with your niche.
So I do a combination of things, right? Of course, I just showed you an example. So my brand is out there enough that I get inbound opportunities, right? Like the one that just came through LinkedIn. But I also run Google ads in about 10 cities. And those 10 cities are the ones that I prefer to go to, but also they're direct flights from where I live in Austin. I try to avoid doing connecting flights whenever possible. Obviously, sometimes depending on where I'm going in Florida, I have to go through Atlanta. I try to avoid Atlanta like a heart attack. But yeah, just once you learn how to market, whether that be through Instagram or Facebook or Google, it's not hard to get in front of your target demographic. And so obviously you got to have a nice website that kind of shows your brand as a potential host or MC in order for them to kind of take you seriously. But once you get the proper assets in place, and then you advertise. Now, I probably spend $1,200 a year on Google ads, and it generates me $250,000 for specifically though, all of the things that I do as a speaker. So I keynote, I MC events, I fundraise, and I do corporate comedy and trainings. So with those main 5 pillars that are all overlapping, with about $1,200 ad spend a year, it helps me generate $250,000. So I would scale up, but for where I'm advertising now, I'm finding that the upper limit is 7 and 5 is kind of like more likely the number. And occasionally I'll take 3,500. But whenever possible though, when someone can't afford to pay 5, I always bring in a sponsor to come in and help cover that gap. So I can still make at least 5. And now I'm connecting a sponsor with an organization's people. So the OPP strategy, other people's people.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to look into your website and options if after the call I can.
My website is my link is in there. You can click on it for the book, but all my other stuff is there. And then also the link to my calendar for a complimentary 30-minute consultation for next week or the week after is there.
Cool. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Sumit. All right, we got time for one more question. I'm having a blast, but I know we got other things to do. So let me know if anybody has any other questions before we get out of here.
We got time for one more question. Who's got it? Anybody?
I've got one.
Andrew, what's good?
Good, man. Thanks. First of all, again, thanks for doing this. Hugely helpful. You've mentioned to Google, which I did, the top 10 charities in your town. Mm-hmm. And just start from there. Like, how would you go at starting out if you had to start at rock bottom?
Yeah, so rock bottom. Okay, so by looking at those top 10, does any one of them resonate with you so far?
There was one called Food for Kids. I literally just Googled the top 10.
Yep.
I actually do charity work for Salvation Army. I do it every Christmas.
Yep.
For the past few years, but I was thinking of just expanding. Literally. So the Food for Kids ones got rated 4.9. It was the top of the charts. So I just figured I'll just probably start there and then work my way through.
Perfect. So imagine, Andrew, you go to their website
Mhm.
First thing I would do is find out, hey, when's their next event happening, right? They typically
Okay.
have like a list of programs, right? So when's their next event happening? Then I would look to see, is there a point of contact? There usually is somebody that's kind of like the community relations person, and they're going to be kind of like your envoy into their entire operation and world. So I would say, of course, hey, I'm looking at expanding, my philanthropic efforts, right? Key, you got to use the right language. If you go in there like, hey, I'm just looking to volunteer, they'll just put you to work. But you're like, hey, I'm looking to expand my philanthropic efforts. I notice you have an event coming up. By any chance, do you already have an MC for that event? Do you already have a host for that event? That's the kind of language that you could do if that's the route you want to go. If you just want to attend, you're like, hey, just reaching out to find out when your next event is. Learning more about your mission, seeing how I could potentially, be a resource to you guys. I would love to maybe bring my network to it, attend one, see if it's something that I can kind of put in my rotation. Now, me personally, I have two charities that I absolutely love because they're veteran organizations, right? And I'm a veteran. So I love Red, White, and Blue. I love the Wounded Warriors Project. And, I do some other stuff in the local, for my local VFW. So for the most part, I've already got the charities that I'm going to be donating time to. But up by me, there's the Liberty Hill Food Bank. And so maybe before my Achilles injury, I would go up there every like once a month and just help sort food for them and just get to know them and connect with them. And at some point, they were going to consider having me to host one of their charity golf events. Two conflicts happened. One, I had another event that was going to pay me $5,000, and they were like, "Hey, we only have $1,000 budget." So I say, "Hey, I understand, but I'm sure you'll find somebody that can help you with it. I'm going over here to do what I do and make my living." So, but that if I wanted to do that event and had the availability, the free time that day, I'm not going to turn down $1,000 to go MC a golf event. You're going to have a ton of fun. You're going to meet a ton of people, right? Hanging out, playing golf, and you just get to have fun and make them feel good. And then at a certain point, in that particular case, they wanted me to fundraise. But depending on what state you're in, you might have to have a auctioneering license to do fundraising, but there's a difference because fundraising is one thing and auctioneering is another thing. But only in about half the states do you actually have to have an auctioneering license. States like New York and California, it's not even required. So you just kind of position yourself as an MC, as a host, or a fundraiser. But so what I would say is reach out to that organization. One, find out their next event. Two, find out how you can just get more involved and say you're looking to expand your philanthropic efforts and would love to connect with somebody that could help educate you about how the organization works, how it functions, so that you can really be knowledgeable and know that you're giving not just time, effort, and energy and money to a good cause, but you understand how it works. But that process is them courting you because essentially they want to get access to you and your network so that they can make more money, right? So it's almost like they don't know how much your net worth is per se. So when you approach them with the right language, they're going to try to like court you and welcome you in and see how they can, feature you and help you reach your objectives. And so if that's, if that's emceeing or hosting their event and you're bringing in value, they're going to let you do that.
All right. Perfect. I like it. So it goes either way. I can go and attend one of their events, or I can see if I can rope them into one of mine or something like that. So it goes either way.
Yeah.
But it's all about having the right lingo, like you said.
Yeah, the right language. Yep.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, man.
My pleasure. Great question.
Thank you.
I think you're muted right now, Brian.
Yeah, you're muted.
I was saying, where else can these guys find you at?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram at JaMarr J.
Perfect.
And then obviously on LinkedIn with my full name. Those are the main places. And of course, on my website, I have a contact form if you want to fill that out. But you got my calendar right there. So, fill out the calendar. put the reason, we're speaking, so I have some context. And I'd love to, talk to anybody who's interested in kind of going a little bit deeper into this particular strategy. Obviously, I only covered a fraction of what is even possible with this. I do probably at the most 3 events a month, but 2 to 3 events a month. And again, the beauty of it is it's OPP, it's other people's people. I don't have to do all the work of organizing and bringing all the people, right? I get to just show up. The crowd is there. I just get to bring my energy, and then I get to network at the end. So, it's one of those strategies that if you at least attend quarterly charitable events, you'll start to really see the value of it because of the amount of people that are there, and more importantly, the amount of quality people that are there, whether that's in dating or business, or just expanding your friend group with quality people that you would want to expand it with. I think it has a lot to offer. It's rich on many, many levels. So thank you so much, Brian, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Hope we can run this back in a quarter or so we can hear some testimonials, get some results. Because I know guys, if they put this work in, they're going to see some good results.
Yeah. Well, this is it's been awesome, man. And like you said, we're barely scratching the surface here, so we'll have to run it back and do a round 2 at some point.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys back in the Discord. Y'all have a good evening.
Peace, love, and prosperity.
Peace out, guys.
All right. Thanks, man.